Welcome to the Reds. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Rant. We are live, broadcasting from two different locations. I'm in Arizona, and Evan is in Indiana. Hi, Evan.
Hello.
How are you?
You know what? I'm good. I got my Burbs shirt on. Anybody's a fan of the Tom Hanks movie, it's hard to tell from here. But I got my office all rearranged. You know, we had our basement flooded. Now this is going on over 2 months ago, about 2.5 months ago. It was July 7th, I believe. And that was fun. Finally got that all redone. Had the contractors get that all taken care of. And my wife moved, thankfully, all of her crafting supplies and things out of this kind of shared office space. So now it is solely my office. So for those, you might be able to see
blurred in the background.
Yeah. Well, I can maybe figure out how to, if I remember how to do that.
Don't start. I can change
it because there's actually
with my stuff.
Right there is actually, I should unblur because that's where my I have a Burbs poster that's up there, which is actually kind of matches the shirt. So I should I'll get rid of the blur.
Oh, there you go. Nice.
And I know you can see it. So then my shirt right here matches that poster right there.
Is there anything significant with today's date and the Burbs, or is it just like it's all coming
together?
No,
I just kind of felt like putting this shirt on.
Okay.
You know, for whatever. It's like, oh, what shirt am I going to wear on the video pod today? But yeah, most of this, actually all this stuff was down in our basement, which is kind of a game room, man cave-ish. For longtime viewers, listeners wouldn't know, but if you've been watching, I still have all that stuff, but that's downstairs. It actually works significantly better to have this upstairs because the Wi-Fi coverage is a little bit better up here, and now I can do so without like weird purses and crafting stuff behind me. So anyway, so I'm feeling good about that. So for first show with the house back in order, so that's nice.
Nice. And then let's talk about the hat you got on there.
Yes.
Is that an orange bear, walking bear?
Ish. This is the one I got when I was down there for spring training. Picked this up in the pro shop there or whatever, you know. So it's still got the Arizona, you know, the Arizona spring training logo there and
desert kind of design.
Yeah. So I kind of dug this as a different. I think it was between this and like a white hat, and I've you know, anybody who's worn white hats before knows that you typically don't get a great deal of life out of them before they turn quickly into a dingy cream color. And
I've washed mine a few times. It's doing okay.
Yeah, I need to do that. Actually, I have another one. I can't remember if I've worn it on here. Maybe I'll wear it. My son's baseball team they're called the Aces. And I generally don't wear snapback hats. Like as a general rule, I didn't do that because a lot of times I used to wear my hats backwards more. And then as I got old and realized that I couldn't lean my head back to rest because of the bill, then I've begun to turn them around more. And at that point, the snapback doesn't make that much of a difference. But the one thing I will note is that this thing, it's like a light blue, kind of a lighter material. And when you sweat in that thing, you will know very quickly how much you are sweating it out. Yeah. So like it's got the big sweat rings. I wore it. I did a Disney speed run this past Thursday, or speed walk, if you will, in which I hit all 4 parks at Disney World in the course of an afternoon and evening.
That's crazy. I don't know how you did that.
I limited myself, right, to where I was only doing like one ride per, and I had a couple of lightning lane passes. When you go by yourself, and it was tired, you know, it was like 11 some miles and 22,000 steps or something like that. So it was not for the faint of heart, especially because I was not wearing the right pair of shoes. And so that's the worst part of it. I should have done better there. But if you do ride shares, which is like way, way faster than waiting on the park buses, you know, especially if you're trying to go earlier when they're not circulating as quickly, I found it to be actually a great deal of fun because I could hit the rides that I really wanted to go on, right? I was not beholden to anyone else. And again, I was able to hit a bunch of them that I'd not done before. And top it all off, it was Food and Wine Festival at Epcot. And if you've ever been there, like they roll out 20 extra countries and there's selections of little food and drinks and things like that you can kind of peruse as you go around the world. So anyway, long story short, I was wearing that hat at the time, and the sweat ring was like down to the front of the bill, top of the hat,
encased the entire thing.
Yeah, so it was an interesting look, to be sure. But no, it's a great hat. That was a fun time, but I'm glad to be back. Although I did have to miss the Cubs' first of 2 1-0 shutouts in Cincinnati as a result of drinking around the world. And actually, I
probably for the best.
Yeah, I think it worked out best for everyone involved on that.
Yeah. What a weird last few days for the Cubs, huh? It's just like, they go and they celebrate. And I mean, listen, I'm all for celebrating. I was a little torn. I mean, it's not that I don't want them to celebrate and I don't want to celebrate making the playoffs, but when you're celebrating winning, I guess just earning a wild card spot, it just doesn't feel like, I mean, it's fine. It's fine. You should be happy, but I think you celebrate things like winning the NL Central or I don't know. So I was a little like kind of, I was happy, but I wasn't as celebratory as the Cubs were in their
well,
Pittsburgh Pirates.
And I think there's a difference, right? Like, hey, spray some champagne on each other, have a little fun in that moment. I think then the party continued onward into Cincinnati. Right. And they're going out and they're, I think, hanging out a bit more. And again, like, hey, I totally expected kind of that Thursday literal figurative hangover. I think everybody pretty much did. But the fact that then we got 3 more games of it, including that second 1-0 shutout, that's the frustrating part. It's not so much, hey, celebrate, but like, oh, by the way, guys, all you've locked up is getting a wild card spot, not the number 1 wild card spot with home field advantage, right?
Yeah.
Not even the number 2 wild card spot where, you're facing San Diego, and I think that's a fairly decent matchup should that continue one way or the other. But like, this is far from over, and dropping those 4 games in Cincinnati put a very serious cramp in their ability to lock up that number 1 spot, because now they're only up. Bear in mind, Milwaukee has clinched number 1. They're good to go. They're resting right now as such, and they're playing in San Diego, right? So the Padres obviously have a lot to play for. The Cubs just finished up with the Reds, who by virtue of their sweep moved into the 3rd place wildcard game. So they're tied with the Mets in the standing, but they own the tiebreaker. Cincinnati now controls their own destiny. So that means the Mets are desperate, even though, right, they've been playing like crap for a while. They're desperate.
They are the Mets, though. We've got that going for us.
And that's the thing. But I'm like, I don't like what that 4 game. It felt as though the Cubs just punted on the entire long weekend. Like they were just saying, hey, yup, we did it. Like, yeah, celebrate the little victory, but it's like winning the opening round of the NCAA tournament or whatever you want to say. Like, that win was great. That clinch was great. But that's not – your work is not done. And it really felt like they completely let off the gas against a team that was also very clearly pressing the gas and going for it to get themselves into playoff position. And that part worries me, because now the Cubs only have 6 games left to build any sort of momentum, to get guys healthy, to set up their rotation, and winning just 2 of those games in Cincinnati. If they do that, they're up, 4.5 games on San Diego with 6 games left? That feels a hell of a lot more comfortable than 2.5 games. And that's where my problem lies. Not the celebration itself, but how they handled the next 4 games after the celebration that just looked like they didn't care. I'm not saying they didn't care, right? I want to be very clear, because I know it sounds like a meatball thing people say, but it truly did look like one team wanted those games more in Cincinnati, and one was just kind of going through the motions. And that bugged me, given where we've seen the Cubs kind of just sit and tread in water for the last couple of months, you know?
Yeah, well, and the Cubs have historically played well in Cincinnati, which is the other side of it, right? Is that, I I mean, we'd have to look back, but I can't remember the Cubs playing this poorly in Cincinnati, like in a long time. We'd really have to look back and dig to see when the last time they were swept in Cincinnati, because I can't remember it. Can you?
No, especially not over 4 games, right? I mean, that's the first time all season they've lost 4 straight of
Yeah.
any kind, let alone 4 in a row in Cincinnati, where yeah, like you said, traditionally outside of there's been a few years here and there when the Reds have kind of jumped up and either been good overall or they played the Cubs well. But that's the thing you run into. And again, where my concern continues to lie is this idea that, we've seen the Cubs, we saw them get over on Paul Skeens behind Cade Horton. But when you look like that Reds rotation, and I didn't realize this till Jim Deshaies said something on the broadcast, and I looked it up, and sure enough, the Reds, statistically, if you look at ERA plus, have the best pitching staff in baseball, right? That's park adjusted. Pitching in a park that's generally not very kind to pitchers.
Mm-hmm.
And you look at that matchup with no Cade Horton going, and you look at it like, yeah, the Reds had the advantage in every one of those games. Because I forget who the other, but it was Green and Lodolo and Abbott. And, right now, and you know how many Cubs pitchers in the second half have an ERA starters? How many Cubs starters in the second half this season have an ERA below 4? How many?
I'm guessing 1.
Correct. So Cade Horton's got his, 0.92 or 93 ERA. Everyone else in that rotation, including Shota Imanaga and Matt Boyd, are above a 4. When we're and that is concerning, because
It's very concerning.
I'll call it back to the beginning of the season or early in the season, and there was a clip that we had from this show where I was talking about how the Cubs rotation is not scary. They don't have a playoff rotation. And a lot of people were getting, kind of, well, actually, and talk about Matt Boyd and talk about him and all these other things. It's like, I don't know, folks. Here we are several months later, and there have been times, yes, throughout the season when Matthew Boyd looked like a Cy Young competitor, when Shota Imanaga looked really good. Jameson Taillon has pitched very well of late since kind of coming back off the IL there, and Cade Horton has obviously done really, really well. But right now, it is Horton and a massive gap between him and who you would want to be starting in a playoff game, because Boyd hasn't been able to limit anything lately. And he doesn't even. It's not like it's bad luck. He has not looked sharp at all. Imanaga has been getting home runs like candy at Halloween, right?
Yeah, he gave up 3 home runs in the second game against the Reds, which wasn't great, obviously.
Yeah, and that's the part that I just have a lot of, like, that series in Cincinnati, to me, is a microcosm of a lot of the other things that are going poorly, right? You can't score a run. In a hitter's ballpark, you cannot scratch out so much as a single run in 2 of the games that you're playing there, right? You're still, Tucker is still basically AWOL. PCA hasn't been able to show up to hit in forever. Matt Shaw's taken days off. That's probably not a topic we really want to touch here, given the breadth of the audience and everything. And I know people feel whatever. But they're playing shorthanded, going with 2 guys who are 39 years of age or older in their starting lineup for the 4th game of a set. And it's just the way this team's playing, there's no individual facet of it that I can look at and say, I feel good about this going outside of Cade Horton. I feel good about Cade Horton, period, going into the postseason. And that may be enough, because if they can win game 1 of a 3-game set, they've put themselves in very, very good position. But nothing they're doing right now signals to me that this is a team that's ready to make a run.
No. And, things happen, I guess, in the playoffs. you don't know, right? But we've been through this enough times where we've seen the team not playing well down the stretch, make it into the playoffs, and just really go nowhere.
Yeah.
And
we've seen that from this Cubs team several times in the past.
In the recent past. And so it's just it definitely feels that way. It's definitely very difficult to assess where the offense is going to come from. And we all know, once you get into the playoffs, that's when the pitching really starts to dominate and stands out more often than not. And so it's without Tucker, which it doesn't look like Tucker's going to be there. I mean, the thing is that even if Tucker were to come back for the playoffs, he's cold coming in. He's got no game experience over the last, I don't know when he played last. Was it like a couple weeks ago?
Second, I think it was September 2nd. So he'll have, if
3 weeks,
if he's available for the postseason, it will have been a month since he's played. I think as of now, he's missed 17 games. And
he was struggling, right? And so were his struggles related to, what was going on with his body? Perhaps, probably. But
he was coming back and doing well in between that, right? When all the stuff blew up about the hand, and he had a couple little days off, and because why didn't he go on the IL? And then he came back, and then he started hitting okay again, or actually pretty well again, until then this calf thing. That then, if you recall, right, that was a Wednesday. I'm sorry, it was a Tuesday. It was a Tuesday that he played, and they tweaked the calf. Council kept him out of the lineup on Wednesday because they had a day off on Thursday. So it was like, hey, we'll give him that extra day. And then, he's on the field doing some workouts. Council's like, yeah, he's not going to be in the lineup. He'll be available off the bench. Lo and behold, he is not available off the bench. They travel to Atlanta. He doesn't play in the first game. And it's like, okay, what are we doing here? Then they finally put him on the IL, after which they missed the opportunity. So they intentionally played shorthanded for 5 games before actually placing him on the IL, at which point they lost a few days of that because you can't retro it all the way back at that point. Not that it matters, because he was eligible to have come off this past Tuesday. Still couldn't. Then we come to find out, right? So a week ago is when he would have been eligible. Then we come to find out, he's leaving the team to go see his own personal physical therapist that he works with during the offseason to address this calf issue that went from he's available off the bench to no, he can't even be activated after a delayed stint on the IL. There is so much about this situation.
It's just weird
that I am finding a very difficult time grappling with at this point. And at the end of the day, they need a healthy Kyle Tucker in the lineup. Like that, if Tucker is not able to come back to this team, even in a diminished form, I don't really see how they've got a shot given where everybody else is at. I mean, do you think they can make a run without him?
No, I don't. I mean, unless somebody that is completely Moises Ballesteros steps up, I don't know who would step up in with a power bat. I struggle.
Does PCA figure it out all over again? Does he finally remember how to hit homers?
Yeah. I think PCA is like a complementary piece at this point in time, right? Like he's not the guy who's gonna be the main driver of a team that's gonna make it to the playoffs and then make a run. I just don't think, right? I mean, he needs other guys.
Like Seiya Suzuki has fallen off completely from a power perspective. We're seeing Michael Busch come back around, but when you look at the guys right now, Busch is definitely, I'd say, leading the way in that regard. But when you talk about your next best producers over the last few weeks, it's Ian Happ, Nico Horner, and Dansby Swanson. Those should not be your 2 through 4 options as far as offensive production. Like it needs to be Tucker, PCA, Suzuki, and Busch in some form or fashion, 1 through 4. And if you've got those other guys sitting in there at 5, 6, 7, and then put Matt Shaw in there wherever you want, right now all of a sudden you're like, oh, well, this is a dangerous lineup. Like these guys can really do something. But when you're literally missing one of those entirely from the IL, and And again, one of them for a game, and we'll see kind of how Shaw comes back and handles things. Bush is doing fine, but Horner supplies zero power. As good as he's been, I don't want to take away from him, but you need in the postseason, it's going to get really tough to string singles together. And maybe you can make some loud noises here and there, but we also know that Wrigley has played very much as a pitcher's park. So that's a little bit concerning offensively. Although, hey, maybe that's good for the pitching staff and Imanaga if he's going to give up tanks. Maybe a couple of those die on the track instead of flying out.
Yeah. I guess it's a good way to look at it. Of course, the Cubs still have to get to where they're playing the first wild card round at Wrigley Field. And, as you mentioned with the Padres, kind of fighting down just a couple games back. All the Cubs need to do is win a couple games here, right? It's not like we're asking for a whole lot, and really, but it sure would feel nice for them to get some momentum going. Listen, and they play the Mets and they play the Cardinals, and they're both at Wrigley, 6 games at Wrigley Field. There's no reason why the Cubs shouldn't win at least 4 of these 6 games to finish the season off, to secure home field advantage in the first round of the playoffs, the wild card round, and then to kind of be able to see what happens. That's what should happen. It's just hard coming off that Red series, right? And so again, here's a team that was fighting for their playoff lives in the Reds, and there's a lot of things that are going on right now. But at the end of the day, it's funny when you get in these like little microcosms of the season, which is so many games. It's easy to like just focus on just the last couple of days and to not have the big broad picture in mind. And so I think if the Cubs can win, even if the Cubs go 500, they're going to lock up. I don't know what's the I don't know what the magic number is for them to secure the wild card.
It's 2.5 games, so it's 4. Because they could go 3-3, and the Padres could go 4-1 and tie them. Although then I don't know where the tiebreak lies.
Okay,
tiebreak. I want to say it's 4. If the Cubs win 4 games, if they go 4-2, the Brewers, or even if the Padres went 5-0, they couldn't catch them, right?
Yeah,
because at that point you're only making up a game and a half, so or 2, 2 whatever. Yeah, I guess right. So yeah, or actually that'd be 2.5. They'd be tied then at that point. So if the Cubs win 5, then they're guaranteed. But again, that's the Padres have to win out.
I think 4 though. Yeah.
Look at all that. I don't know. My math is awful,
but at the end of the day, they shouldn't be in this position, but they are. And right. Honestly, they should win, even though the Mets are fighting for their lives. They're still the Mets. Listen, they were 11-17 in August. They're 7-12 in September. They haven't been playing well. The Cardinals are 13-15 in August. They're 9-10 so far in September, playing a little better than the Mets. And of course, they'd love nothing more than to come into Wrigley Field and kind of derail what the Cubs are trying to accomplish here.
Although they should be tanking. At the end of the day, they're out of it. Like they've got no incentive. They should just be sitting everybody and just, but
it'll be interesting to see, who they play against the Cubs. But, they're still, the Rockies are terrible, right? The Rockies have lost 113 games. Whew.
Yikes.
That is good. The White Sox have lost 98. They're probably going to end up losing 100. And so, but my point is the Cardinals are nowhere near that level bad. Yeah. And so it's like, we're talking about a 1 or 2 spots in the middle of the pack, basically. So, yeah. And so, but looking towards the and we had talked about this in the last broadcast was what about the starting pitchers? And it felt like it was going to be Imanaga, Boyd, and Horton. But now it feels like maybe Tyon is the guy. Are they going with 3
Yeah,
I mean, obviously in the
they
first
got to be three
series
because they're all back to back to back, so you can't repeat
versus a
anybody.
4-man roster, or
Well, I
as
mean,
they move along.
I think they'll at least have to carry a fourth starter just because, if you need that long relief or
Yeah,
if
of course.
something happens, somebody gets hurt. So I mean, I think you're looking at those four. Does Assad get carried as a long man? Do they have Michael Soroka in there? I mean, Aaron Savali's
Yeah.
been kind of in that position. I would imagine Jordan Wicks is left off the postseason roster, right? They just added him after they made some shuffles there. But
Where does Boyd fit in, though?
dude,
He's been bad.
no, not
Bad.
yeah, and it's the kind of thing where he was getting away, not getting away with, but he was just his stuff was sharper, and lo and behold, though, that's what happens when you go into the season, right? Direct quotes from Tommy Hotovy, or I'm paraphrasing, but he did say, like, we'll be happy if we get 120 innings out of him this year. We said,
Yeah,
what,
yeah.
175? He hasn't pitched more. That's almost twice what he's pitched in any individual season since 2019. And it's evident. And that's where I was a little more concerned with Horton, who obviously has, less overall mileage than Boyd, but it's like you can see it with this dude, right? It's just every time out there is just no margin for error. He's not getting the little corners and the crisp little movement on his pitches that I think were leading to balls in the ground, swings and misses, foul tips, things like that, which now are turning into barrels, singles, homers,
Yeah.
And even more productive outs, even when he's making them. And that has become a little bit difficult. I don't trust Boyd at all right now if you said, here's the guy, because here's the most important games in a 3-game series are games 1 and 3. You got to win one, right? Like, you don't want to be down 0-1. And then if you go to the third game, obviously you have to win that one. And I don't like that idea. If I had to choose between him and Tyon right now, I would go with JMO. Like, I feel far more confident
fresher
in him. Yeah. And I think that's the big thing. Now, if they can stretch Boyd out or stretch his days out, we saw them go with the ass man there in Cincinnati, kind of spread that out, which bumped Horton, gave Horton basically a week rest between starts, which right now, again, he started last Tuesday, he starts today. If that were to hold, and assuming they would do the same thing, then next Tuesday, which is when that postseason series would start, Horton is there on 6 days rest again, which again I think is smart given the innings load he's carried. But I don't know. Or do you flip a coin and say, we'll worry about the third starter, we'll carry Boyd and Tyon and figure it out when we get there? What's the matchup?
I don't think you can. I mean, Boyd over his last 8 starts has nearly a 6 ERA.
Yeah, and
in his last start, he only went 3 innings, right? After giving up 4 runs.
Yeah, and even that just almost felt like it was almost like, yeah, just go ahead and pull him early, like right away. Like, let's just go ahead and that's it. But then who do you trust? Imanaga? Like, I don't trust anybody.
It's got to be Tyon. It's got to be Tyon.
Yeah.
Tyon is fresh. He's been injured, a lot of the season. And so he's definitely the freshest guy. And I mean, it's got to be Horton, Imanaga, Tyon, I think.
Yeah. I agree with you there. And here's where I get scared, though, right?
It's a bummer for Boyd because he's a great guy.
Oh yeah, no, he's a tremendous dude, like universally beloved. I mean, you could talk to reporters, you could talk to teammates, coaches, everybody, like, great dude. But I think the blessing and the curse of it for him, that he pitched so well early in the season through that first half, and that the Cubs kept having guys hurt. Justin Steele gone for the season. Shota Imanaga had the hamstring that kept him out for a while that brought Horton up. And then Tyon missed almost half the year so far because that was right around 4th of July. I think his last start in the first half was like July 2nd. It was July 3rd or 4th that he actually went on the IL with the calf thing, missed a couple months there. Then he had the little groin issue, then missed some more time. And so the result of that is that they haven't been able to give Boyd the time off in between and stretch his starts out like they realistically should have. If you're saying we're hoping for 120 innings and you're getting this guy pressing 180 by the time this next start is over, good for him and what he did early, but that's not a good thing because that target was there knowing how little he's actually pitched over the last several years because of injuries and everything else. That's where you get into it. And I think they robbed Peter and now they're paying Paul. You know what I mean? Like they had to eat those innings early, and now I think that allotment has been burned out.
And, hey, you give him a pat on the back. You say, hey, man, good job. Well done. You got us here. You helped us get here. But I think just looking at Taillon's last 3 starts, I mean, he's given up 3 earned runs over his last 3 starts, right? I mean, that first start in Atlanta, he went 4 innings, but, I mean, that was his first start back. Arguably.
And that's a good team, despite what the record shows. And I think the Braves have won 8 in a row at this point. So, like, they're playing hot. Like, that is a good lineup for him to go up against.
Yeah. And he gave up 2 earned runs there, and then no earned runs against Pittsburgh, and then 1 earned run against Cincinnati. And so he's pitching well. He's fresh. He's definitely the guy I'd go with. And so as we look towards the playoffs, just kind of the way it stands today, and the way, I mean, it's definitely going to be the Cubs versus the Padres, and it's most likely going to be them playing a 3-game best of 3 game series at Wrigley Field. I've already started receiving my emails. Those came out actually from the Cubs for playoff tickets. Like as soon as they won the game, it was just like they must have had that just set. They were auto send the newsletter out so they could start trying to sell their tickets as quickly as possible. I haven't even looked. Have you looked at the tickets to see how much they were going for?
I have not seen yet. I'm sure they're up there.
I don't want to look.
Although the Cubs have lost. I'm trying to think. They have won. No, they still lost that one. I don't believe I have ever witnessed in person a Cubs postseason win. And then we're talking about over. Wasn't there I didn't attend any games in 15, but I saw them lose 2 World Series games. In 17, I saw them lose the crazy, whichever game that was that 5? Whichever one, the Steven Strasburg mold game that got rained out, and then he wasn't going to start because they had mold in the hotel and he wasn't feeling well, and then he did. It was terrible weather. I missed that one. Or I was at that one they lost. I was at game 5 against the Dodgers in the 2017 NLCS. I was at the 2020 game 2 against the Marlins when we had to sit in the rooftop and they lost that one. So like every game
you're not allowed.
No, and that's why I said why I didn't even try to go out to game 7 of the World Series. I was like, no, if I stay home, they'll win. I told myself that, and so far my track record is impeccable. Just unfortunately in the wrong direction. So yeah, we'll see. But I have not checked, but I have to imagine the prices are somewhat steep. So
I would imagine so, but I don't even want to look because the Cubs haven't earned home field yet. And so once they earn home field, I'll look. I mean, why not?
No.
Just to see what it looks like. But and right now, let's see. Milwaukee is still number 1. Let's see, where does Milwaukee have they locked in that number 1 seed yet? I don't think they have. They're pretty close.
Yeah, I know
they've got a
2.5 division.
They've got a 2.5 game lead over the Phillies. And so they're real close to locking that in, although the Phillies are playing Miami. Which
Marlins are playing hot right now, though. That's which is super weird time for them to get hot.
Yeah, they're 9-1 in their last 10, won 6 straight. Huh.
Yeah, go figure.
It doesn't matter. To your point,
the teams that don't need it are winning all these games all of a sudden out of nowhere. It's like, man, why can't the Cubs get out? You guys need to punt those games. give the Cubs some wins, but alas.
Well, and it's true. It's like if you look at all the teams that are like up towards the top, you've got the Brewers have lost 2, the Phillies have lost 2, the Dodgers have lost 1, Cubs have lost 4. Now the Reds have won 5 thanks to the Cubs, and the Padres have won 3. And so, but you look down a little further, and the Marlins won 6. The Braves have won 9 in a row.
Yeah, they
My
keep rocking,
goodness.
man. What about the
It's not that way
Diamondbacks are hot too. The Diamondbacks are only a game, I think, out of that third spot right now.
back.
So yeah, that third spot.
Thank God the Cubs don't play them.
The Reds control their destiny still, but it could be very interesting. How they. So as long as the Reds keep winning, if they win out, they make the postseason. And what I would really like is for the Cubs to sweep the Mets, effectively bump them out of position entirely, and then for the Reds to stumble and the Diamondbacks to pass them, because at least then both the Mets and the Reds lose out after having held on to this position for a while. But then what that means, right, then to me, now again, it's going to be very, very difficult for the Diamondbacks to go and beat whomever they've got to play.
The Dodgers.
Yeah, they have to play the Dodgers.
The Diamondbacks close out the season 3 against the Dodgers, 3 against the Padres. Wow.
Yeesh. Yeah, that would be rough. We'll see.
That could be
but I'd rather have them. But at least, but again, there's a lot to be said for just like what they did when they made their run to the World Series a couple years ago, right? They got hot late. They got in that wild card spot and then just played that scrappy brand of ball that we're not really seeing from the Cubs right now. So, I think a lot of it is, yes, you just got to get in, but you've got to do so healthy and hot for the most part.
Well, I mean, the Diamondbacks, they could single-handedly propel the Padres into first place in the NL West. Because if they sweep the Dodgers, which that's probably not going to happen, but if they do, and then they get swept by the Padres, of course, then that would mean the Diamondbacks probably don't make it into the playoffs. So
yeah, there's a lot of it. Yeah, I will say this about I'm not anti-expanded playoffs. I know a lot of people are far more so than I am. I kind of like it, but for reasons just like what we're talking about here, is there's all these different scenarios. Like we could see changes atop the NL West. We could see changes across all 3 wild card positions. We know that the Cubs are locked in there, but there could be all kinds of shifting around in terms of seeding, and especially in that third spot, there's multiple teams in play for it. So I do like that these games have meaning across a couple of different dimensions. So that part of it's cool, gives you something to kind of track as it's going along. But again, I think we're all just more concerned with making sure the Cubs go in. And I mean, I don't know if 3-3 is going to be enough to get it done to hold on to their position. It probably obviously that's pretty dicey, right? But that's where they've been. That's what I see them doing. Even 4-2 doesn't guarantee it, but I think they go 4-2, you feel a hell of a lot better about taking it in there. I just don't want to go into the last game of the season. If you remember back in 2018, and we saw something similar where the Cubs had pretty strong position, and then they just continued to kind of stumble. The offense couldn't do anything down the stretch.
Exactly.
And
that's what this
they
reminds
lost. Yeah, they lost that game 163 because the Brewers tied them for the division. They lost game 163 for the division and then had to play, which at the time, obviously just the single 1-game wild card against the Rockies, where they looked just completely incompetent and fell on their faces again. And it different situation because there are more wild cards, there's 3-game series and all that sort of thing. But I have kind of that same sense about feels
like to me.
Yeah, I'm not confident in the way this team is playing. They win 4 straight, then they lose 4 straight. It's like they get up, they're season high 24 games over, and then they promptly drop 4 games to go back to just 20. I mean, will they end up with 90 wins? You know what I mean? 90 plus and have
they should.
Yeah. I mean,
if they don't, then we have a major, major problem.
Right. Like that would be far less than good. I mean, again, they're not the 83 win team, right? They wouldn't 82. They're 88-68, right? So they should definitely finish above 90 wins. That's normally a very strong benchmark. But then when you look at the pace and when you look at what they've done and the fact that, again, they're missing ostensibly their best player and maybe missing him in the postseason, that is a very different story. So that's where the context matters. I think a lot of people are like, they're going to win 90 games and be fine. The big playoffs. Like, yeah, but do you feel really confident? Do you feel confident about what they can actually do, like based on what this team is right now, rather than I think a lot of people are basing their confidence on, hey, well, they're going to win 90 plus games and make the playoffs, and anything can happen in the playoffs. So you're like, you're looking at this kind of hypothetical.
Which is and that's also where it takes, if you take a step back and look at the big picture, if somebody told us before the season started that the Cubs were going to end up with 90 wins or more, and they were going to be in the wild card, probably in the top spot, you'd take that all day long. And so, but it's the way that it's kind of happening here, and it's ending as the season ends. It makes it a little hard to swallow. In 1 week, that's when the first game will be played. The wild card game is next Tuesday. We are 1 week away, folks, from postseason play. And that's it's exciting. I mean, it's nerve-wracking and exciting, but it's just crazy to think about that, next week. And I wonder if the Cubs do lock up home field and they actually do have a game, 3 games irregularly, or 2, depending on how it goes. Will they play in the day on Tuesday, or will it be a night game?
I don't know how that's laid out. I thought there was potential for them to be the early game, but I don't know.
It's set. Well, if you look at the postseason schedule, which is on MLB.com, it's got game. It doesn't have a time, but the first game that's listed is the game that they would be in, which would be the
So I mean, I assume they would
wild card 2.
Yeah, based on the geography of things.
But it's just the order, right? But it doesn't say a time, so I don't know if that indicates that that's actually going to be the first game to start that day. But
yeah, I mean, we'll see.
I would be very interested in that.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so.
The next day is the same way.
A lot of it's their TV partners, because if you recall, again, I was talking about the game in 2017 against the Nats, when everyone on earth knew that it was going to rain. Like, there's no way they were playing that game that first night when it was scheduled.
Yeah.
And the teams had gone to, Major League Baseball, said, hey, the rain's supposed to start, because it got delayed. And, we're all sitting there, because the weather was crap. So we're sitting in the mezzanine, like just waiting on the official word that it was getting banged and moved to the next day. And, it was like, the teams went to Major League Baseball and said, hey, there's a window in the afternoon. We can play this thing if we started at 2 or whatever. And then it's done. And they're like, no, because of the broadcast partners. I mean, I can't remember if it was TNT or TBS or whatever. And it's like, so now you're going to force them to play, because now they got to play the game the next day. And the weather was awful. The next day it was cold and rainy and crap. It's like, you could have played this under more ideal conditions or less terrible conditions. So, which just brings me to, like, I don't know, they'll put them at wherever they feel the matchups are. You know what I mean? And like, where can we get the most eyeballs? Put this thing on TV. So,
yeah, I'm sure Ricketts will be out there lobbying for a night game. There's no doubt about that.
You would think, especially after that, the stuff came out. They talked about their attendance numbers and how they lost. They lost 2 home games. They only got their 79 home games, because technically the series out in Tokyo were Cubs home games, which is the dumbest thing ever, because literally not. And because of the fact that the Dodgers are the far more popular team in Japan, not only given their proximity, but with Ohtani being such a superstar and everything. And it's like, the London series, when they did that, was one team was home, the one game, one was home, the other, you kind of split that. So again, but going back to Ricketts, I have to assume that Major League Baseball guaranteed him a massive payday to punt those 2 home games, as well as they should have, because to talk about 35 to 40,000 fans in the ballpark with all that means for the surrounding area and revenues generated, they had to have kicked the Cubs a boatload of money to punt those home games. So I'd be interested to find out how much it costs to get them to do that, give those up. But I mean, good for him.
Yeah, they'll make up for it in the playoffs. There's no doubt about that. So, all right, cool. Well, next Monday, I think we should shoot to do a show, if possible, on next Monday. It'll be be right after the Cubs in the season, which would be on Sunday. Last Friday 120 game coming this week. Man, I'd love to be there for that, but I don't think I'm going to. And then on Monday we'll do a show, and then on Tuesday. And Monday we'll know it all, right? We'll know.
We'll have more clarity. I don't know that either of us knows much of anything. We'll just understand what the playoff seeding is. I guess I won't know much beyond.
We'll know
that.
the seeding.
We'll
probably know the starting pitching lineup.
Yeah. Will we know about Kyle Tucker's availability? I guess we'll have to by the time they submit their playoff rosters.
We're gonna have to, yeah. So
speaking of which, we'll go into this more in depth at another time. But I have significantly shifted my stance on this. There's no one on earth who will be more shocked than me if he's back in Chicago next year. I don't think there's a chance he's back, and that has nothing. And I'm not even talking about salary. I don't think he's back.
So you don't think on a 1 year?
It would have to be. I think it would have to be the most insanely discounted, stupid type of deal possible.
And do you just think it's just that there's just not the vibe is not there? I mean,
I think that's part of it. I think that's part of it. I think it was on here when I was talking about you could kind of tell. It felt like the team was putting out certain information to reporters, with the tone of things they were saying about how just you could read stuff like, well, when they traded for him, the Cubs knew it could be a rental, which was not the kind of tone. And I know those are little things, and it maybe feels like I'm reading too much into them, but just the sense I get. Not that it's contentious or that it's just bad, that the two sides are bickering or anything. I don't know that it's as good of a fit as what I think a lot of us believed it was going to be early and certainly throughout part of the season. It just seems like things have soured a bit. So again, I would be shocked if he's back. Right.
And he's struggled. His struggles certainly haven't helped his case in any way, shape, or form, right? And it's just, yeah, I don't want to get too into it either, but
we'll see. That's something we can save for a postseason wrap or something like that if we need to.
Sounds good. Cool. All right. Well, hey, everyone, thanks for joining us today. It's been really great to have you. Please join us at cubsinsider.com or on YouTube where you may be watching this, or on Facebook if you have to go to Facebook. We suggest going to YouTube or the website, though.
Yeah,
if you can. Just a mental stability type situation, just so we can stay a little
best for everyone involved.
Yeah. All right. All right. See you.
See you.